Welcome to another edition of Daily Airline News, focusing on the loss of Transworld Airways Flight 800. I'm Jeffrey Thomas, and I'm delighted to say joined by my co-host Richard Godfrey in Frankfurt, Germany. Good afternoon to you, Richard.
And good evening to you, Jeffrey.
You. Now, viewers, we had promised you Al Francis, the Transworld Airways captain, but with various reasons, we've had to put that back by one day. But we've got an amazing episode for you still on Transworld Airways 800. Richard's been doing an incredible deep dive, and the first aspect of this analysis is fuel tank explosions. Now, Richard, perhaps you can walk us through the data that you've assembled.
Yes, there have been 25 fuel tank explosions in the history of aviation, as recorded in the Aviation Safety Network database. And these 25 accidents resulted in 602 fatalities. And that includes, in their list, the TWA 800 accident. Now, of these 25, the cause of three accidents is unknown, but the other 22 accidents have been investigated until a cause was found. In 10 cases, the cause was ground handling failures, either during maintenance or during refueling. And one case was caused by a bomb, and three were caused by lightning strike. Two were procedural and caused by fuel pumps allowed to run on dry tanks, which resulted in the pumps overheating and igniting remaining fuel vapor. And six were caused by electrical faults, faulty wiring, a spark from an electrical motor starting up, or a faulty fuel pump. Now, on the Boeing 747, apart from the TWA 800 accident, there was one other fuel tank explosion, and that was caused by lightning. This accident occurred on the 9th of May, 1976, near Madrid, when an Imperial Iranian Air Force, IIAF, Boeing 747 was struck by lightning following a diversion around a thunderstorm. Now, in the case of TWA Flight 800, the NTSB determined that the probable cause of the accident was an explosion of the center wing fuel tank, the CWT, resulting from ignition of the flammable fuel-air mixture in the tank. They say the source of the ignition energy for the explosion could not be determined with certainty. But of the sources evaluated by the investigation, the most likely was a short circuit outside of the tank that allowed excessive voltage to enter through the electrical wiring associated with the fuel quantity indication system. That explanation by the NTSB is, of course, plausible and has happened before to three other aircraft, but it's never actually happened to a Boeing 747. Let me just walk you through the three other cases. On the 3rd of June 1971, a Boeing KC-135Q Stratotanker crashed following an in-flight explosion of the number one main fuel tank, and chafing of boost pump wires in conduits was determined to be as a possible ignition source. On the 13th of February 1987, another Boeing KC-135A Stratotanker caught fire during landing rollout and burned out completely. At the time of the explosion, the co-pilot was making a radio transmission using the UHF radio. And the UHF wire, which runs near the aft wing root in the fuselage, was melted due to an electrical fault, and fuel vapors in the area of the aft body tank were ignited. And the final example, which the NTSB quote on the study on and report on the TWA 800 accident, happened on the 11th of May 1990. This was a Boeing 737 from Philippine Airlines, which caught fire. And shortly after pushback, a powerful explosion in the center fuel tank pushed the cabin floor violently upwards. The wing tanks ruptured, causing the Boeing to burst into flames. The vapors ignited, probably due to damaged wiring, because again, no bomb or incendiary device or detonator was ever found in that case. So that is the study on the other fuel tank explosions that have taken place. And that's what led me yesterday to say that it brings some cause for doubt in my mind because this uh, has never happened before on a Boeing 747.
No. And also for the viewers, the first aircraft that Richard mentioned, the KC-135, that's the military version of the 707. That's the refueling tanker version of the 707. Yes, it certainly does raise questions, Richard, doesn't it?
It does indeed.
Mm. Now, the other thing that raises a lot of questions were the large number of witnesses to this tragic event. And none of these witness statements were part of the NTSB report. Correct me if I'm wrong, Richard.
No, there were none whatsoever.
And what did happen was 20 were leaked. These witness statements were gathered by the FBI, and their statements, they're what's called 302s. And a number, 20 in fact, were leaked a number of years ago. And Richard has been able to get hold of these and has done an analysis of them all. Now, Richard, I think for memory, you were saying there's 5 groups of these.
Yeah, they're separated by the different groups of witnesses,
Yeah.
land-based or marine-based or airborne,
Yeah.
and what line of sight they had to the events.
Okay. Well, look, let's go through these then. Now, let's start with the group 1, which we've called the land-based witnesses. That's the largest group in the leaks.
Yeah, so these were witnesses located on Long Island beaches, in backyards, on boats tied to the dock, or had a shoreline vantage point. And the key themes across their statements were many reported seeing a streak or a flare or a light trail rising up before the explosion. Some described the streak as ascending from the surface or near the surface of the ocean. Several mentioned the color, commonly white or orange white or yellowish. And some reported that the movement formed an arc or an angle. It wasn't directly vertical all the time. And many said of the timing that it lasted between 2 and 5 seconds before the main fireball was seen. So let's get some quotes from the different witnesses. Witness A observed a white flare that moved upwards towards an aircraft, followed by an explosion. And witness B saw a streak of light rising from the horizon that looked like a firework going up. And witness C reported a light moving upward from the ocean surface, then a bright flash. And witness D observed an orange arc traveling upward, then a bright flash, and a second detonation. And witness E first saw a sparkling streak, thought it was a flare, and then saw the aircraft explode. Most of these witnesses did not describe an object tracking horizontally, they described upward movement.
Now, we've got a second group, Richard, haven't we? The water-based witnesses, and these were folks out on boats
Yeah.
in the area.
So these witnesses were at sea level on private boats or commercial vessels. And the key themes here were lower sight lines. So many saw initial flashes, but not full streaks. And several did see something ascending, but shorter in duration due to horizon limitations. But they did have very good auditory detail, and the sequence of sounds that they heard was recorded. So, witness F saw a flare like object going up vertically, then a bright explosion, followed by debris falling. Witness G observed a light that traveled upward from the water area where the explosion occurred. Witness H did not see a streak, but heard a bang and then a louder bang, supporting a two event sequence. And witness I saw a reddish streak rising, duration 2 seconds before explosion. And witness J heard pop, then a much louder pop with a clear interval between the two. So these accounts emphasize the two sound sequence and in several cases an upward moving object.
So the third group are the airborne witnesses, and these are, of course, obviously particularly significant because these folks are usually, well, typically aviators, pilots, flight engineers who are very savvy when it comes to witnesses.
Yeah, and they're trained observers,
Mm,
which makes them quite important.
yeah.
And there were three airborne witnesses amongst the leaked 302 forms. And the key themes here, they had a higher vantage point and a more complete view of the event. They observed motion that was vertically oriented and moving upward toward the aircraft. They described the explosion as two events, a flash followed by a fireball. And one described what he felt were two missile plumes. And this fits with Major Meyer
Mm,
type description.
yeah.
And the representative summaries, witness K saw a white streak climbing rapidly, then a brilliant white flash, followed by an orange fireball. And witness L observed an extremely fast vertical streak of light, followed by two explosions. And witness M, a military pilot, reported two separate streaks rising from two origins, converging towards the aircraft location, then a large explosion. And this probably was Major Fritz Meyer's description because
Mm.
it fits what he said. And these interviews are the most detailed and among the most technically literate.
Mm. Now, we've also got a fourth group, which you've identified witnesses who described only the explosion with no streak.
Yeah, so several leaked 302 forms were from people who did not see the ascent or streak, but saw the fireball. And the key themes here, they saw the airplane break apart and flash into flame. They observed falling, burning fragments, and they generally did not witness anything before the first flash. So, witness N only saw the bright fireball, no streak observed. Witness O reported a flash in the sky, then a large orange ball and debris falling. Witness P saw the aircraft's nose separate during the breakup phase and post the initial ignition. And witness Q reported a bright flash followed by descending fire. No mention of upward movement. And these are important because not all witnesses saw a streak, but especially those obviously who had an unobstructed line of sight could see the whole picture, and some witnesses had an obstructed line of sight, so they only got part of the story.
Mm. Now, the final group that you've identified are the witnesses who described sequential events. In other words, two flashes, two sounds. Um,
Yeah,
the- these are interesting.
they are indeed. So these 302 forms were consistent with the two-phase breakup. The key themes were a flash, then a boom, or a bang, then a larger bang, a small flash before the big explosion. Some described a flare like event preceding the fireball. So, going through those witness statements, witness R heard a muffled pop, several sounds before the main explosion. Witness S saw a small flash followed by a larger fireball. Witness T described a dull glow rising, and then the aircraft detonated. And these witnesses all support the idea of two visually and audibly separate events, which both the FBI and the NTSB acknowledged as common in witness accounts.
Mm. Absolutely fascinating. The more you delve into this, Richard, the more murkier it gets.
Yeah. And for me, the comprehensive report from Major Fritz Meyer um, has been quite clearly corroborated by the evidence of these 20 leaked witness statements.
Mm.
So Major Fritz Meyer alone, without corroboration, would not be, uh, in legal terms, a reliable witness. In a court of law, you always want to have evidence from multiple witnesses that align. But with these 20 witness statements, 19 probably other than Major Fritz Meyer, in my mind, it confirms what he observed in greater detail and a clearer report that he has given. So I think we've now got corroborated evidence here.
Absolutely. We certainly do. So, look, thank you very much indeed for that analysis, Richard. There's some fascinating numbers in all that.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And viewers, we will be back with Captain Al Francis once we get a few things aligned, mainly international time zones. And it's a little bit difficult to organise a three-way exchange from right around the globe, but we've got it all sorted. So we look forward to your company tomorrow with Al Francis. Now, please subscribe to us. Please like us. Do please keep those comments coming and great questions. And thank you to all those who are now supporting this news channel. We really do appreciate your support very much indeed. And wherever you are in the world, please enjoy the rest of the weekend and into the next week. Thank you very much. Take care.